you've had a really cool career journey, and you've gone through a lot of different executive leadership roles. You've gone through a bunch of different organizations in your niche. Are there any big takeaways you have for yourself? I know we've mentioned one of them is it's about who you know, but are there any other big takeaways that you have on your career, reflections, or big pieces of advice that other young engineers should keep in mind when starting their career out?
Oh gosh. I think one of the most important things when you're starting your career is who you work for. And I've made a couple of errors in my history of working for the wrong person. And if you work for the right person that is going to invest in you and support you and give you opportunities, that's when your career flourishes. And that's when you as a human being are the happiest. And happy people do the best work. That's just, almost silly to say out loud, but if you're happy, you're going to do great work. And if you like the person you work for and you like the team you're on and they're supportive, then you're going to flourish. And if you are working for somebody that is sort of a violation of your core principles, or that is putting you down, or, just has leadership characteristics that are just not, they don't work for you, get that resume up to date and start looking for another opportunity, because life is short, and you want to put yourself in a position to where you're going to be surrounded by people who are advocates for you, and you advocate for yourself, of course. But, if you make a bad decision going to work for a company or a person, just, chalk it up to experience, learn from it, and move on. And I would say the same thing, that if you ever find yourself in a position where upward mobility or lateral mobility and your ability to continue to learn and take on new responsibilities becomes difficult, don't be afraid to change companies. I don't recommend changing every 6 months, but I've had very long stints at companies, and then I've had some shorter ones. And there's reasons why those were shorter.
That's a phenomenal bit of advice, Elizabeth. I really appreciate you sharing that today. I think it's very relevant. I've seen a lot of my peers struggle at their jobs and be in a situation where they don't have the right leadership structure, but there's other things that are keeping them. And then after a year, then they're like, oh, wow, if I had just listened to my gut a year ago, I would be in a much better place now. So I think that's a really good piece of advice, especially for somebody young in their career. So thank you so much for sharing it. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for the time today. It's been a very cool experience getting to listen to you talk about your career journey and what you've learned along the way, and hearing what you do at One Inc. Anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I've enjoyed it. It's wonderful to meet you. I hope there's some little pearls of wisdom that I can share with your listeners, and I really do. I think networking is just so important, and I hope everybody goes and finds a group in their community to get involved and get engaged in. And they usually always have a philanthropic component as well, so you get to meet people that could help you in your career along the way, and you get to do some good for the community at the same time. So.
I'm not complaining, my thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.